A very good morning to all the webinar attendees present here. Today will be the sixth of the series of webinars which we have planned for the course of this year. And our topic for the day is going to be simplifying request fulfillment process using ServiceDesk Plus. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Vignesh, a product specialist, a ManageEngine. I have around 5 years of experience with our ITSM suite because we offer a wide variety of ITSM products. So the agenda for today is going to be enlisting and managing the services which our company offers. And for those services, we have to configure different kinds of workflows, SLAs, and then there are some services which might be related to purchasing an asset and also managing software. So we'll discuss about that as well, and also the overall service request lifecycle, starting from the creation of the service template till getting the purchase order done. So that's what our agenda for the day is going to be. So I'm going to take you guys to my application. This is my application instance. The edition which you are looking at is an enterprise edition of ServiceDesk Plus. And the build of the application is the latest version, which is 9.3.1.1. And firstly, services. So we have a module called Service Catalog, and this Service Catalog is available only in the Professional and Enterprise edition of ServiceDesk Plus. And the entire webinar is going to be around this. So I would just like to make sure that all the standard users might have to get Service Catalog to enjoy this feature. So firstly, as you know, our IT company or our company provides a wide variety of services to the users. So it's really important for us to create different templates for the different kinds of services. Most of us do that. We have a lot of service templates created under Service Catalog. But the most important thing is, as an admin or as a company head, we need to make sure that these templates are used effectively by the users. Because we don't know how much is the usage. We might have 100 templates. If the templates are not being used properly by the users, then the point of having the template itself is pretty much ineffective. So the first thing which we need to do is we need to make sure that these templates are grouped into respective categories or appropriate categories, so that when a requester logs in, if it's, let's say, for example, if the service is related to a hardware, then he can just go to the category called hardware, and he has all the templates in hardware, and he can create a service with respect to that. So if we have appropriate categories for appropriate services, we can make sure that all the templates are used effectively by the users. So I'm going to first of all create a service category, and ServiceDesk Plus provides you two different kind of categories, one related to IT and other related to business service. The category which I'm going to create is going to be a IT category. So it's going to be hardware, for example. And if I have support hours, let's say I can put it like 24/7. This is a new feature, and who's going to manage this category? And if there's a cost involved, department involved, you can mention those. And I'm creating a category called hardware. So once I create a category called hardware, what I can do is, if I want to create service templates with respect to that particular category, I can go over here, Service Catalog. I can click on Add Service. So the service which the template which I'm gonna create right now is, let's say, for example, it's gonna be request for a Mac. Mac is a laptop. Why am I choosing Mac? I'll explain this to you while I'm configuring the template, because I can just go with laptop, but there is a reason. So what I'm going to do right now is, first of all, I'm going to decide what are the fields which are going to be present on the template. And these are the fields which we provide by default. And if you want to add more fields, you can click on Add New Field over here, create an additional field. And you have wide variety of options to choose: pick list, multi-line, numeric, date and time, decimal. And you can create an additional field, and that will be shown on the template. And the most important part of Service Catalog, because the additional field feature is already available in Incidents, resource info. What is this resource info? Firstly, as you know, when you provide services to the end users, the first thing we have to make sure is we can get or we can collect as much as information possible from the end user while he is creating a request himself. For example, in my case, I'm selecting a request for Mac. So the first thing I need to do is I need to make sure that I can create as much as questions as possible for the user so that he can fill in while he's creating the request. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a resource. And in the resource, the subject of the resource is going to be request Mac questions. And by default, we provide different kinds of questions. And as you can see over here, these are predefined questions which are closely related to assets. So in ServiceDesk Plus, resource module is tightly integrated to assets. Let's say, for example, what kind of Mac I have to choose. I can use the existing questions. As you can see, I have Mac Air, MacBook Pro, and a few Dell computers as well, since these are predefined questions. So I can select that. And if I want to have, if I'm going to provide the user what kind of software he needs on that computer pre-installed, I can select the question list of softwares required. But my requirement is none of these questions, then I can just go ahead and create a new question. There are 4 different types. We provide a yes or no question, drop-down, checkbox, and a plain text. Let's say, for example, the question which I'm going to create is a yes or no question. And the question is, do you need Mac keyboard along with a lap? Just a question which comes to my mind, and I have yes and no, and I can click on OK. I can click on save. So now I have created a resource info question, and this resource info consists of 3 questions: model I want, softwares I want, and whether I need a mouse or not. So once the resource questions are created, while I'm creating the service request, I'll show you how this looks like, and we can decide what are the support groups which are going to use this template to create service requests, because as you know, we even get phone calls other than emails as well. So we can decide what are the groups or what are the technicians who are going to see this template. And there is a feature called show to requester. In services, I'll explain you in what kind of scenarios this will be really useful, because in all the organizations, they're not going to provide Mac for all. For example, in my company, I can see managers using Mac. So what we can do is we can make sure that this template is restricted only to the people who are going to who has the privilege to get Mac, so that the normal users don't see the template and normal users don't create requests using this template. How am I going to do that? Is I'm going to create user groups. In ServiceDesk Plus, you have users and you have user groups under users tab. So what we can do is we can create a dynamic group. Let's say, for example, I can create Mac group just for an example, and the criteria would be job title is manager. So if I select a filter stating job title is manager, what happens is all the users who has the manager role will be are the only people who will be able to see this template. Give me a minute. I need to refresh this because I've just created a template. So I just created the support group. So I'm refreshing it. Now there is a Mac group. I can select that if I want the user group, and then I can save this template. So now the template has been created. The next thing is, what is the workflow this template is going to follow? Because as you know, in different organizations, we have different kinds of approval process. Some might be a single stage approval process. In some companies, it might be a lot tedious where you have multiple stages. So ServiceDesk Plus offers you the flexibility where you can add up to 5 stages of approvals, and who are the people who are going to have the privilege to approve service requests. So the department head, regional manager, regional director, these are the predefined roles. People who have these roles, you have an option to put them as an approver. And other than that, people who have service request approver role can also approve service request. I'm going to show it to you because this privilege can be provided to users as well as technicians. This role, service request approver, a person who has this role will be listed over there. And other than that, we also have a feature called organization roles, where users who are configured in this organization's roles will be listed in the approval workflow. You have CEO, CIO, department in charge, you have regional roles, you also have site roles. For example, if I want to add a site manager or a site director, I can just click on the users list, I can search the site, and I can search the user, and I can click on associate user. So by that, if a ticket has been raised from this particular site, then automatically, as per the approval configuration, this user will be notified, or he is the person who has to approve the service request. And as you can see, the guest person has the approval role, so he is listed over here as well. So as of now, I've created a couple of stages for this approval template. And then in the template itself, we provide you an option to select the service level agreement, which this service is going to follow. And as you know, just like for incidents, because you need service level agreements for both incident as well as service, because we have to define a time within which the service is going to be provided to the user. Because when a user creates a service request, he should know how long does it take for him to get the service done. So I have an SLA called laptop SLA. Probably I'll just change this to say Mac SLA, just since we are working on Mac. And I can select the response time. I can select the resolution time. It's going to be 5 days. And I also have 5 levels of escalations, and I can configure the SLA. So the general configuration of SLA will be present in the admin tab, service catalog, service level agreements. And for each and every template, you can select what SLA you're going to choose, and to have an option to configure tasks within the service template itself, so that you can create tasks, because in this scenario, you might not have multiple tasks. Let's say, for example, a user onboarding process. If you have a template for user onboarding process, then for that, you have various subtasks which needs to be performed. Like you have to create an AD account in the domain controller. You have to provide him an email address. A lot of things are there when you have an onboarding process. In those scenarios, you can create predefined tasks, and you can use that on the template. So that's about the workflow. And another important thing which I would like to say with respect to service catalog is, just like incidents, you also have business rules for services as well. You can predefine an automated action when the template is used. So you can execute this business rule when the request is created and also created and edited. So a sample rule which I would think about is a VIP user, because in my let's say, for example, if my CEO needs something, it has to be provided really quick. So what I can do is I can create a business rule. Say if the user is a VIP user, then I can select, let's say, the priority as high, because it's my CEO or it's my manager. We have to make sure that his requirement is achieved really quick. So we can configure business rules like that, so that when the criteria is met, then automatically this business rule will be activated on the service, and the service will be offered to the end user really quick. Because the point of creating service business rules, service level agreements, the form being more effective, is just to make sure that we provide the service to the user as efficiently as we can. So now we have created the template, we have configured approvals and workflows, and we have created SLAs, we have provided the SLAs, we have also seen the business rules. So what we'll do is we will make sure that we log in as an end user, and we will check what exactly happens, or when an end user uses this template, how does it look like for the end user? Because I remember I created a user group for that particular template. So I'm just making sure that the job title of this person is manager. So I'm going to save him. And now I'm going to log in as that person. and I'm going to click on create a service request because it's a service request. And as you can see, I have two template categories. If it's respect to user management, then we can select user management and select the service you want. And if it's related to hardware, all the hardware templates is listed over here. So that is the reason why it's very important for us to create group these services into correct categories so that the users make use of the template. So as you can see, as soon as I collect request for Mac, you have a delivery time mentioned for the user. So a predefined expectation is set to the user. So if he needs the service, the resolution time is going to be 5 days. How you see this? It's because of the SLA which I configured. So the additional field is also present over here. So I can create a request stating request for a Mac and questions. I'll select Mac Air. I need AirDrop. I don't want a mouse, and I can add the request. So this makes sure that, because as much as inputs we provide to the user via resource questions, it makes the job a lot easier for the technicians, and also the user gets the service as quickly as possible. So now a request has been raised and with the information filled. So I'm going to go back as an admin because, as you know, if the Mac is available in the store, then the technician is going to provide the Mac. What if a scenario where in the store there is no Mac available? If I am the person to whom the service request is assigned, so what I need to do, the first thing I need to make sure is I need to inform my procurement team that the Mac is not available. So in ServiceDesk Plus, we had made sure that the request management module and the purchase module are integrated with each other, because over here, you have a tab called purchase details. Here you can just select the drop down because the Mac is not available as of now in the store, and I can create new purchase request. So what is this purchase request? Purchase request serves as a record in documenting the organization's approval process for a purchase prior to the purchase order, prior to creating a purchase order. The reason behind it is a Mac computer can be provided by different vendors all over my place. So different vendors will provide the Mac at different cost. So what I can do is I can create a purchase order called Request for Mac, and I can select the vendors of the choice so that we know what are the prices the vendors offer. And as a team, we can discuss, as a procurement team, we can discuss which vendor from whom we are going to purchase the Mac, and then we can create a purchase order. So that is the whole point of having the purchase request. We are making sure that the procurement process is done effectively, and it's also we can also make sure that we can save cost cutting as well. So I create a purchase order now. A purchase order has been created from the service request itself. So I'm going to that particular purchase order, and as you can see, I have a purchase request stating, it's purchase request for Mac. I click on it. This is the purchase request, and if I go to service request, I can see what are the service requests which are associated to this purchase request. All the information are provided over here. You can also select requested date, who has requested for this, who is the technician, etc., etc. So once I decide everything is good, then I can I can create a purchase order from the purchase request. So I'm going to select workstation, and I'm creating a purchase order. And as you can see, a purchase order has an order number, and we can select the date before which the purchase order has to be done, because as you know, these are in this scenario, we are offering a new laptop, so we need to make sure, because the SLA for the service request is 5 days, so we need to make sure that the purchase order gets completed before that. So I've provided all the information. Let me select the price. It's going to be the quantity is going to be 1. The purchase. the administrator has requested for the purchase order, and if we have an approval workflow, who are the people who are going to be the purchase order approvers, you can select them over here. And we also have a workflow for it where you can select all approvers have to approve or anyone. So firstly, I'll tell you who are the people who will have the privilege to approve purchases. In ServiceDesk Plus, if we go to the technicians, and if we edit technicians or requesters, doesn't matter, we have an option called purchase approver. Only these people will be able to approve purchases. And we have an option to set limit as well. And we also have unlimited options so that that person can approve unlimited amount of purchase orders. So I guess I didn't save the template. So let me create a new PO again. Just let me fill the form, the shipping address, billing address, all those information. I can select the approvers, but since we are just doing I'm just showing it to you, I'm not going to have an approval process. I'm going to click on save. So the purchase order is created right now. And once the purchase order is created, if we want to order this PO, you can just click on order PO, where if the vendor has an email address, automatically the email address comes over here. So since I'm not going to send notifications, I'm just clicking on send. The status has been successfully, the purchase has been ordered. Now I'm going to click on receive items because the purchase has been ordered, and let's say I have received it. So I have an option to receive it. And once I click on receive, as you see over here, whatever information I've ordered, the items are listed from the purchase request. Automatically it takes it. And if it has a service tag, I can specify the service tag. And if we want to save the service tag as a barcode, you can select that. And then you can click on receive items. So now the items are received. With respect to invoice and payment, you can decide the invoice and payment. If we want to see what are the service requests and purchase requests associated, you can see it over here. So by this, we can make sure that the purchase order workflow process can be completed after receiving it. Now, I'm going to show you once again how the purchase module is related to service request. Now, if I go to that particular service request for Mac, and if I click on the purchase details, there it is. It says it's a purchase order is created. I can track the status of it from the service request itself. It is ordered, and now it has been received on date June 20, 2017. So the technician who is in charge of the service request, even though if he doesn't have privileges in viewing the purchase, or if he's not in charge of the procurement process, he can track the purchase from this particular tab. He knows what is the status of that particular service. So once the purchase has been received, what we can do is we can provide this laptop to the particular user, and we can close the service request. So by that, the purchase order is also completed, service is also done, and we are making sure that within service request, or from the start of the service which we provide to the user, and we can go to the purchase, we can create a purchase request. From that, we can create a purchase order, and the PO can be completed. So this is the workflow our application follows as of now by default. As you know, we create a purchase order, we submit it for approval. If the person approves it, from approved it goes to create PO. If it gets rejected, we just close the PR. So once the purchase order is created, it goes for approval. If you reject it, that's it, it's done. But if it's approved, it goes to the ordered state. From ordered, if you have fully received it, you can select fully received. If you have partially received it, you have a status partially received. Once you have received, you can opt for the invoice, and once the payment is done, you can close the PO. So this is the workflow which we follow as of now, and and I'm pretty sure that you guys will agree with me. Almost all the stages are covered, and you also have the notification settings for purchase request as well as purchase order. It's available on the purchase tab itself. You have notifications for if the approval is pending, if it's requested by, if it has been approved. You have different kinds of notifications for purchase request as well as purchase orders. So From an administrator's point of view, what are the things which we can customize in purchase management? We provide you an option to create purchase additional fields. Whatever additional fields you want, you can create it. And you also have the same for purchase request as well. You can decide as soon as a purchase request is created, who are the people who are going to be notified. And for purchase request also, as I said, you have additional fields, and you also have some default values which you can provide for purchases, where you also have this catchy option, PO owner can be the approval itself. In certain small environments, they don't have an approval process. They can just select the owner as the approver. And you also have the option to have different currencies and also the cost center. So everything is available with respect to the purchase module. As an administrator, all you need to do is go to the admin tab, purchase contract management, and you can configure the purchase management. So I guess now we have completed the service request lifecycle, and we went into the services we offer, the workflows, service level agreements, and also with respect to purchase request and purchase order. As I mentioned on my introduction, so it is really important for us to get your feedbacks with respect to the training content, the material, the speaker, myself, so that we can improve on it. So kindly share your thoughts as a feedback by going to the website support@servicedeskplus.com. Support@servicedeskplus.com. Share your thoughts on it, and we'll definitely make sure that we will improve on that next time. So thank you guys. We will catch you on a different topic or an interesting topic next month, and we will do the webinar. So thanks for your time. I hope you have a fantastic day and the weekend to continue. Thanks a lot. Take care of yourself. Cheers.